Demet sat at her kitchen table, the morning sun filtering through the sheer curtains, casting soft shadows on the worn wooden surface. She was a housewife, married to Emre for 7 years, and their life revolved around the unpredictable nature of his work in construction. Emre didn't have a fixed job, he worked on a day-to-day basis, moving from one site to another as opportunities arose. Their existence was a constant scramble, chasing after the next paycheck. Emre's work often came through his close friend, Alex, a seasoned construction worker who had been in the industry for years. Demet didn't know Alex well at first, he rarely visited their home. However, as work began to dwindle over the past year, Alex started dropping by more frequently. He would sit with Emre, discussing plans and projects, their conversations filled with the kind of camaraderie that only years of friendship could forge. Emre had a habit of spending hours at the local coffee shop whenever he wasn't working. It was almost like a second job for him, a place where he could unwind and connect with others in the community. Alex, on the other hand, had never been fond of coffee. Demet learned this during their initial conversations, where he would opt for tea instead, sharing his thoughts and concerns in a calm, collected manner. There was a maturity in Alex's words, a grounded wisdom that made him easy to talk to. As the weeks passed, Demet found herself enjoying Alex's visits. He brought a different energy into their home, one that contrasted with Emre's more laid-back demeanor. While Emre was often lost in his thoughts, Alex was engaging, his laughter filling the room as he recounted stories from the construction sites. Demet appreciated the way he listened, offering insights that made her feel valued in their discussions. One afternoon, as they sat in the living room, Alex leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "You know, Demet, it's tough out there right now. The construction business is slowing down, and it's affecting a lot of us," he said, his tone serious. Demet nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "I can see that. Emre has been worried lately. It's hard not to feel the pressure." Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We just have to keep pushing through. Something will come up. It always does." His optimism was infectious, and Demet found herself feeling hopeful despite the uncertainty. As the days turned into weeks, Alex became a regular presence in their lives. He would drop by unannounced, sometimes bringing lunch or just stopping in for a chat. Demet enjoyed these moments, the way he could easily shift the atmosphere in the room with his stories and laughter. She admired his dedication to his work and the way he treated her and Emre with respect. One evening, after a long day, Demet was in the kitchen preparing dinner when she heard the familiar sound of Alex's voice coming from the living room. Emre was telling him about a new project, and she could hear the excitement in their conversation. She smiled to herself, feeling a sense of warmth in their home. "Demet, come join us," Emre called out, his voice cheerful. She wiped her hands on a towel and walked into the living room, where the two men were animatedly discussing plans for a new construction site. "What are you guys plotting?" she asked, leaning against the doorframe. Alex turned to her, a grin spreading across his face. "Just brainstorming ideas. You know how it is in this business, always thinking ahead." Demet settled onto the couch, intrigued by their discussion. The way they bounced ideas off each other was fascinating, and she felt a sense of belonging in that moment. It was a reminder of the life they had built together, even amidst the chaos. As the evening wore on, the conversation shifted to lighter topics, and laughter filled the air. Demet found herself drawn to Alex's easygoing nature, the way he made even the most mundane topics seem interesting. There was a comfort in their dynamic, a friendship that felt genuine and unforced. But as much as she enjoyed Alex's company, Demet was aware of the boundaries that existed. She loved Emre and cherished their life together, Yet there was something about Alex that intrigued her. It was a subtle tension, an unspoken connection that lingered in the air whenever they were together. As the night came to a close, Alex stood to leave, and Demet walked him to the door. "Thanks for coming by, Alex. It's always nice to have you here," she said, her voice warm. "Anytime, Demet. I enjoy our chats," he replied, his gaze lingering on her for a moment longer than necessary. The door closed behind him, and Demet leaned against it, her heart racing slightly. She shook her head, trying to dismiss the flutter of emotions that had stirred within her. It was just friendship, she told herself, but as she turned back to the living room, she couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to change. Demet felt a sense of restlessness creeping in. Her marriage to Emre wasn't bad, but it had settled into a monotonous routine. Everything was orderly, perhaps too orderly, and within that predictability, she began to realize that she had unknowingly opened herself up to other possibilities. One afternoon, the doorbell rang. Initially, she thought it was Emre returning home, but when she opened the door, she was surprised to find Azat standing there. "Is Emre home?" he asked, looking slightly hopeful. "No, he's out. Probably at the coffee shop," she replied, a hint of curiosity in her voice. "I tried calling him, but he didn't answer." "I thought I'd stop by," Azat said, his tone casual. There was a brief pause as he lingered at the threshold, and Demet felt a strange urge to invite him in. "Sorry, you're just standing there." "Come on in," she said, stepping aside to let him enter. They moved into the living room together, and Demet felt a flutter of nerves. It might take a while for the tea to brew. "Would you like a coffee instead?" she offered, trying to keep the atmosphere light. Azat smiled, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Sure, I'll take a medium coffee then." As she headed to the kitchen to prepare the coffee, Demet couldn't help but wonder if this was a good idea. She didn't want any misunderstandings. When she returned with 2 steaming mugs, they settled into the couch, the aroma of coffee filling the air. At first, their conversation revolved around work, the usual small talk that filled the gaps in their lives. But soon, the topic shifted, and the air around them grew heavier. At one point, as she placed an empty coffee cup on the table, an unusual silence enveloped the room. Azat's gaze faltered, and Demet felt a strange tension building between them. It was as if the atmosphere had thickened, and time itself seemed to slow. "Do you ever feel like you're just going through the motions?" Azat asked suddenly, breaking the silence. His voice was low, almost vulnerable. Demet met his gaze, her heart racing. "Sometimes, yes. It's easy to get caught up in the routine and forget what really matters," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Azat nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I get that. Life can feel so predictable, can't it?" She could sense the weight of his words, and the shared understanding between them deepened the connection that had been quietly simmering beneath the surface. "Yeah, it can," she replied, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. "But I think it's important to find joy in the little things, even in the mundane." "Absolutely," he said, leaning in slightly, his eyes locked onto hers. "Sometimes it just takes a little push to see things differently." Demet felt the distance between them shrink, the air charged with an unspoken energy. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, a mixture of fear and exhilaration. As they continued to talk, the conversation flowed effortlessly, but the underlying tension remained, creating a palpable connection. She found herself drawn to Azat's easy charm, the way he engaged with her, making even the simplest topics feel significant. Eventually, the evening wore on, and Demet realized how much time had passed. She stood to clear the empty mugs from the table, her mind racing with thoughts. "Thanks for coming by, Azat. I really enjoyed our conversation, she said, her voice warm as she walked him to the door. Anytime, Demet. I always enjoy spending time with you, he replied, his gaze lingering on her a moment longer than necessary. As the door closed behind him, Demet leaned against it, her heart racing. She shook her head, trying to dismiss the flutter of emotions that had stirred within her. It was just friendship, she told herself, but as she turned back to the living room, she couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to change. The evening had taken a turn that neither of them had anticipated. As Azad stood up to place his empty coffee cup on the table beside him, he suddenly moved closer, positioning himself directly across from Demet. She found herself momentarily speechless, captivated by the intensity of his gaze. It was as if a window had opened, letting in a fresh breeze that swept away the cobwebs of their previous conversations. The atmosphere shifted, and Demet felt a rush of emotions akin to the first rain on parched soil, revitalizing and unexpected. Time seemed to stand still as she sensed the unspoken connection between them deepening, like a river finally breaking free from its dam. Every movement Azat made felt like a note in a melody, sometimes soft and gentle, other times bold and resonant. The silence that had lingered between them transformed into a language of its own, rich with meaning and possibility. In that moment, Demet felt more alive than she had in years, a profound sense of clarity washing over her. It was as if a stone had been dropped into a deep well, sinking slowly until it settled at the bottom, leaving behind an inexplicable lightness. As the conversation continued, the tension hung in the air, electric and palpable. Demet could hardly believe how much she enjoyed their exchange. It was refreshing, invigorating, and she felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. Finally, she took a deep breath, savoring the moment before it slipped away. After Azat left, the quiet of her apartment enveloped her like a warm blanket. She leaned against the door, her heart still racing from the encounter. The echoes of their conversation lingered in her mind, stirring thoughts and feelings she had kept at bay for far too long. She wandered through her home, her eyes drifting to corners she hadn't paid attention to in years. The flowers on the windowsill in the kitchen caught her eye, their vibrant colors a stark contrast to the muted tones of her surroundings. The curtains on the balcony danced gently in the evening breeze, as if celebrating the newfound energy that filled the space. Demet paused, reflecting on the moments they had shared. Each word, each glance exchanged with Azat felt significant, as if they had unlocked something within her that had been dormant. She couldn't help but smile, the warmth of their connection wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. As she settled into the evening, the soft glow of the lamp illuminated her surroundings, casting a cozy light that felt almost magical. The world outside continued its rhythm, but inside, time felt suspended, allowing her to savor the possibilities that lay ahead. With a heart full of hope, she closed her eyes, imagining what the future might hold. As the days passed, Demet tried to maintain a sense of normalcy when Emre returned home. She greeted him with casual questions about his day, asking how work had been and if he had enjoyed his coffee. She busied herself with household chores, but beneath her composed exterior, a secret feeling began to bloom within her. It was as if she had planted a delicate flower in a hidden garden of her heart, watching it sprout and grow in silence. Since that day with Azat, he had continued to drop by occasionally, and without realizing it, Demet found herself eagerly anticipating their conversations. Her apartment transformed from just a living space into a stage where she could explore her emotions, each visit from Azad adding a new layer to her experience. A few days later, the doorbell rang again. It was Azat. Before opening the door, she quickly called Emre to see if he was home. Learning that he was at the café, she felt a rush of relief and excitement. "I'll swing by for a bit," Emre had said, and she welcomed Azad inside. "What can I get you?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Nothing, really. I just want to sit for a while, he replied, settling into a chair with a relaxed demeanor. Demet joined him, and they began to chat. As they spoke, an unusual tension simmered in the air, a quiet electricity that seemed to pulse between them. It was a feeling that spread like a gentle ripple across the surface of a still lake, releasing all the pent-up emotions she had kept bottled inside. With each word exchanged, the weight of her worries began to lift, replaced by a soothing calm. Her heart raced at times, as if it were skipping beats, but soon it found its steady rhythm again, matching the easy flow of their conversation. They shared stories, laughter, and moments of comfortable silence, each glance lingering a bit longer than necessary. The atmosphere in the room felt charged, alive with unspoken possibilities. As the evening wore on, Demet felt a sense of peace enveloping her, a feeling that had been absent for far too long. She realized that her home was no longer just a refuge from the world, it had become a place where she could confront her feelings and embrace the connections she had been too afraid to acknowledge. When Azat finally stood to leave, the moment felt bittersweet. "I'll see you soon," he asked, his eyes searching hers for an answer. "Definitely," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper, but filled with sincerity. After he left, Demet leaned against the door, the quiet of her apartment wrapping around her like a warm blanket. She closed her eyes, letting the echoes of their conversation linger in her mind. The vibrant flowers on her kitchen windowsill seemed to bloom even brighter in the fading light, a reflection of the newfound energy that filled her space. In the days that followed, Azat continued to visit, each encounter deepening their connection. Demet found herself looking forward to his company, each conversation revealing more layers of her heart. The apartment, once a mere backdrop to her life, transformed into a canvas where she painted her emotions, exploring the depths of her desires and hopes. Every visit brought a mix of excitement and nervousness, a dance of emotions that left her breathless. She cherished the moments they spent together, the way their laughter intertwined, and how their silences spoke volumes. It was as if they were writing a story together, one filled with uncharted territories and endless possibilities. As she prepared for another evening with Azat, Demet felt a flutter of anticipation. She rearranged the cushions on the couch, tidied up the kitchen, and lit a few candles, creating an inviting atmosphere. The soft glow of the lights cast a warm hue across the room, making it feel intimate and special. When the doorbell rang, her heart raced. She opened the door to find Azat standing there, a smile on his face that made her pulse quicken. "Hey, I hope I'm not interrupting anything," he said, stepping inside. "Not at all. I was just getting ready for you," she replied, her cheeks flushing slightly. They settled into the familiar rhythm of their conversations, the tension between them palpable yet comfortable. Each shared story, each playful tease, felt like a step closer to something deeper. Demet could feel the walls she had built around her heart beginning to crumble, replaced by a sense of openness and vulnerability. As the night wore on, they found themselves sitting closer together, the space between them shrinking. The air was thick with unspoken words, and Demet could feel the weight of their connection pressing against her. She glanced at Azat, catching his gaze, and in that moment, everything felt possible. With a heart full of hope and a mind racing with possibilities, Demet closed her eyes, allowing herself to imagine what the future might hold for them. The world outside continued its rhythm, but inside her apartment, time felt suspended, allowing her to savor the magic of the moment. As the evening unfolded, Demet felt a sense of clarity wash over her, much like a river finding its course. The weight that had burdened her for so long lifted, replaced by a serene lightness that filled her heart. In that moment, she took a step back and reflected on everything that had transpired. A voice within her whispered, "This is your moment." She realized that sometimes, the smallest things could shift one's spirit in the most unexpected ways. Azat's visit that day had reminded her of this truth. The little details she had once overlooked now illuminated her life, revealing that it was still brimming with surprises. She made a promise to herself. The lightness she felt, the curiosity that sparked within her, and the simple joys of life would not be lost. Even if she found herself caught in the daily grind, she would take moments to pause, breathe, gaze out the window, feel the gentle breeze, and listen to her own heart. As she reflected on her journey, she recognized the profound impact of seemingly ordinary conversations and small visits. They could create ripples in one's inner world, leading to significant transformations. She hoped that others, too, would begin to notice the small moments in their own lives that often went unnoticed. With a soft smile, she looked around her cozy apartment, the flickering candlelight casting playful shadows on the walls. The warmth of the evening enveloped her, and she felt a renewed sense of purpose. And so, as she prepared to embrace whatever came next, Demet knew that she was ready to face the future with an open heart. She would cherish the little things, allowing them to guide her through the ups and downs of life. As the night deepened, she felt a sense of closure to this chapter of her life, while also looking forward to the next. With a heart full of hope and a spirit eager for adventure, she whispered a quiet farewell to the past, welcoming the new experiences that awaited her. In the end, it was about embracing the journey, finding joy in the mundane, and allowing love to blossom in unexpected places. The little details she had once overlooked now illuminated her life, revealing that it was still brimming with surprises. As she prepared to embrace whatever came next, Demet knew that she was ready to face the future with an open heart. She would cherish the little things, allowing them to guide her through the ups and downs of life. Later that week, she found herself at a local coffee shop, a favorite haunt nestled in the heart of the Pearl District. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sweet scent of pastries, creating a comforting atmosphere. She settled into her usual spot by the window, a cozy nook adorned with vibrant plants and eclectic artwork. As she sipped her latte, she noticed a familiar face across the room. It was Jake, a friend from her college days, his laughter ringing out like music. He was animatedly chatting with a group of friends, his easy smile infectious. Demet felt a flutter of nostalgia, recalling the late-night study sessions and spontaneous adventures they had shared. Summoning her courage, she waved. Jake's eyes lit up as he caught sight of her, and he excused himself from the group, making his way over. Demet. It's been ages, he exclaimed, pulling her into a warm hug that felt both familiar and comforting. It really has. How have you been? She asked, her heart racing slightly as they settled into conversation. Busy with work, but good. I've missed our hangouts, he admitted, his gaze sincere. We should catch up properly. How about dinner this weekend? Demet felt a rush of excitement. I'd love that, she replied, her smile widening. They exchanged numbers, and as Jake walked back to his friends, she couldn't help but feel a spark of something more than friendship lingering in the air. The days leading up to their dinner were filled with anticipation. Demet found herself daydreaming about their time together, replaying their conversations in her mind. She chose her outfit carefully, a soft, flowing dress in a deep emerald green that complemented her features. It was casual yet elegant, perfect for a cozy dinner at a local bistro. When Saturday evening arrived, the city was alive with energy. The streets buzzed with laughter and music, and the warm glow of lights illuminated the sidewalks. Demet arrived at the restaurant, her heart fluttering with nervous excitement. Jake was already there, looking effortlessly handsome in a fitted navy shirt and dark jeans. Wow, you look amazing, he said, his eyes sparkling as he stood to greet her. Thanks. You clean up pretty well yourself, she teased, feeling a blush creep to her cheeks. They settled into a corner table, the ambience intimate and inviting. As they shared stories over delicious food, the conversation flowed effortlessly. They reminisced about their college days, shared their current passions, and laughed at the absurdities of life. With each passing moment, Demet felt the walls she had built around her heart begin to crumble. Jake's presence was warm and genuine, and she found herself drawn to him in a way she hadn't expected. The chemistry between them was palpable, a gentle tension that lingered in the air. As the evening wore on, their laughter filled the space around them, and the world outside faded away. Demet realized that she was not just enjoying the moment, she was savoring it, allowing herself to be vulnerable and open to whatever might come next. When they finally stepped outside, the night was cool and crisp. The stars twinkled above, and the city lights created a magical backdrop. Jake turned to her, his expression serious yet soft. "I had a great time tonight, Demet. I really like spending time with you." "Me too," she replied, her heart racing. He took a step closer, the distance between them shrinking. "I've been thinking, maybe we could explore this connection a bit more?" Demet's breath caught in her throat, a mix of excitement and apprehension swirling within her. She nodded, feeling a rush of warmth. "I'd like that." With a shared smile, they leaned in, their lips brushing together in a gentle kiss that felt like the beginning of something beautiful. In that moment, the world around them faded, leaving just the two of them, wrapped in the promise of new beginnings. Subscribe to the channel,